so oftentimes I do interview students from Essex County who apply to Princeton, and I'm asked to write an evaluation of the student after I conduct the interview. So I ask them about their extracurriculars. Oftentimes, I don't really, I myself don't ask about their grades or their SAT scores, because that's something the university considers itself. But when you're participating in an interview for admission, what is most important for me to understand is, how would you make Princeton a better place? How would you make Princeton a more diverse place? How would you improve the community there? And I think, as I was saying, thinking about yourself, thinking about, you're all very unique people. Each one of you has very, very unique interests and very unique stories about your backgrounds, what motivates you to study, what brings you to applying to Princeton. And I think when I write my evaluation, what I try to emphasize is, this is how this student would make a difference, would stand out at Princeton. And it's not, most of the time, it's not academically, but most of the time it really is sort of thinking about a person's experiences, So for myself, what I think I tended to focus on was the fact that my family, we are sort of a family of immigrants, and so we came to the U.S. And we had a very specific story of immigration to the U.S. And so, speaking about that, thinking about, there are not a ton of other stories like my family or my story about immigrating to the U.S. that made a difference or made me special at Princeton. And so, thinking about that is a good way to thinking about when you're part of an interview, or when you're participating in an interview, thinking about yourself. How am I special? How do I stand out? And if you're applying to an international school, I would pay very close attention to the admissions requirements. They're very different from the U.S. requirements. So some of them, for instance, I know in the UK, one of the things that are looked more closely at is the standardized test scores. And so you not only need to take the SAT, you need to take a few other standardized tests that are required to get admission. Oftentimes, there's not the same system of financial aid or financial support. And so oftentimes it's when you're an international student in another country in which you're not a resident or a citizen, what happens is that you're asked to pay more money than the students who are a resident or part of that country. It's also something that I think, if you study in an international program, then you should think about, whether that program will let you come back to the United States, or whether that's something that, means that you'll have to continue, working or living in that country. And so there are lots of questions to think about when you're thinking about an international program that are very different from a US program.